Hi everyone, this is HackConf 2021. I'm Krasi and you're watching the third track with the Visionary Lectures. I hope you're having a great day and you've already taken your after lunch cup of coffee. Our next speaker today is Bogdana Boncheva. She's a senior delivery manager at Financial Times. And today she will share how she and her team managed to turn a hackathon idea into a winning product using objectives and key results. She's going to tell us how to adopt OKRs and how they achieved numerous goals. Bogdana, the stage is yours.
Thank you so much, Krasi. Thank you, HackConf, for having me. Hi, I'm Bogdana Boncheva. I work with the Financial Times Sofia, and as you may know, we have a website, ft.com, an app, and a newspaper to publish our premium quality journalism and share real information in real time. I'm here today to tell you how my team and I managed to adopt the practice of objectives and key results. To put this into perspective, my main goal is to design processes that bring the best out of people and teams, and this is what I was trying to do with OKRs. So I'd like to take you on a journey and tell you what happened when we tried to adopt the official version of objectives and key results, how we tried to wing it our way and adopt the process according to our team specifics, and hopefully to inspire you to try OKRs yourself. So what are objectives and key results? This is a question that I heard many times more than 2 years ago when the company started using them and I was supposed to introduce them to my team. Objectives and key results are a way to get everyone focused on a common goal. They were invented by Andy Grove while he was the CEO of Intel, and you can see him on this picture holding a wafer with Intel chips. He wanted to come up with a simple and straightforward way to set goals for his engineers. He invented OKRs back in the time when the most prevailing framework for setting goals was called management by objectives, or shortly known as MBOs. MBOs were created by Peter Drucker, whom Andy Grove respected very much. And so he called his own goal-setting framework Intel Management by Objectives, or IMBOs, to emulate his respect. But the name that really stuck was OKRs, and there's a whole story behind that, but I won't go into that today. I would like to outline some of the major differences between the two goal-setting frameworks so that you could appreciate the big step forward that Andy Grove designed when setting up OKRs as a practice. MBOs are tied to individual performance. They have to do a lot with individual goals. OKRs are mainly about organizational goals, and they're not used for evaluating individual performance. So your bonus or your salary raise would not depend on whether or not you manage to achieve your OKRs. MBOs are confidential. Only you and your manager know what your goals are, and they're set for you by your manager. OKRs are transparent. They're published throughout the organization. So you know the OKRs of your boss, and you know the OKRs of all the teams around you. And this promotes a culture of very active collaboration between teams who unite and start to work on much bigger things together. With MBOs, you get stuck in silos trying to achieve your very ambitious goals, and you get very specialized, and because you have to achieve them at all costs, and these are some very rigid key performance indicators or productivity targets, you might be hurting the organization not knowingly. With OKRs, you get the natural emergence of cross-functional teams trying to do some bigger and riskier things together, and failing is not that big of a problem. So now that you know the several main differences, here's a bit more about OKRs. As Andy Grove describes them, the objective is the direction. It's where everyone at the company will be going to. And it's something big and very ambitious. A key result is something different, and it is the milestone along the way that everyone is taking. A key result should be formulated in a way that makes it very easy to realize of whether or not it was achieved. And so one objective could have several key results associated with it. The recommended number is between 3 and 5, but this is just that, a recommendation, and you don't get to stick with it if you don't want to. The success of an objective is being measured by the success of its key results. So if you manage to achieve your key results, that means you managed to reach your objective. Now that you know how OKRs are being constructed, let's set one OKR for ourselves here today. And because it has to be very big and ambitious, let's go with start living on the moon. Mainly because we are tired of all this raining here on Earth. A possible key result to this objective could be we have built a spaceship. So if you notice the wording of the key result, it has to sound like a result. When I was first introducing this to my team, especially being a non-native speaker, it was very difficult to understand how key results should not sound like tasks, and that they should be worded as results in order to create a result-oriented mindset and result-oriented behavior within the team. So let's set up another key result, and that could be we have established a tardigrades colony on the moon. If you know what tardigrades are, please give them a shout out on Discord. And if you don't, I'll tell you. I think HackConf is the only conference in which I can bring tardigrades up, and I really didn't want to miss this opportunity to speak about these very cute micro animals. They are much smaller than what you see on the picture, and they're really fearless because they survive extreme conditions like volcanoes and outer space, and a colony of them already crash landed on the moon. But according to scientists, they're not very much alive today, so we get to fix that with our key result. Let's have another key result, because we really want to go and live on the moon, and that could be we have flourishing potato crops on the moon, so that we can sustain ourselves and we can be as cool as the Martian. Now that we have set our plan, I suggest we come down to Earth and explore an OKR that FT Senior Management set for us a few years ago. That was reach 1 million subscribers. And to give you a little bit of context, the FT, in its main part, is a subscription business. Our subscribers are extremely important to us, and this number, 1 million, represented a very big increase in client base back in the time when this goal was set. All of the teams within the FT wrote their own OKRs and played their part in reaching this goal. Of course, once we did, there were lots of celebrations, there was lots of cake, and that's yet another cool thing about OKRs. One of the biggest challenges with big management goals like that is how to translate a senior management OKR into real work items and real projects for the engineering teams. In the beginning, I was copying the key result of management and using it, literally pasting it, as an objective for my team. I was trying to achieve the perfect alignment. And the problem with that was that OKRs need to be inspiring for the people who have to do them. But in this case, all the business vocabulary was really losing that inspiration and that hype for the engineers who are used to a more tech-savvy language on goals that had to be achieved. And so we started rewriting them so that they could be meaningful to us. Just when I thought I got it right, I ran a retrospective with my team on OKRs, and I found out I still had a long way to go. Here is one of the questions from that retro, and it said, how many OKRs did our team have this quarter? Now, this was not meant as an exam. I really cared more about if people knew the value that our OKRs brought or what the most important projects were, but I'm taking this a bit of context. And so you can notice that just half of the team answered that 6 is their wild guess. And this is the correct answer. But here, this is just a guess. And absolutely no people knew the number and what the OKRs really were. As I said, I work with brilliant people and they remember very complicated things, but yet they didn't want to remember the most important projects for the past 3 months. So obviously I was doing it wrong and I was setting too many OKRs and losing our focus. It was really the next question that was an eye-opener for me and helped me introduce some improvements. And that was, do you have your own OKR ideas for the next quarter? Even though many of us understood the importance of aligning with the direction of the organization, there were at least 4 people who had their own ideas and they thought these were the best ideas. So to me, this was an evidence that there was already drive on the team to influence the direction of the organization and to set our own goals for ourselves. This marked the next phase in our journey when we realized that OKRs didn't have to just come from top down, but that we could also propose our own OKRs to management and to the teams around us. So, as I said, this is the next part of our journey when we tried to make our OKRs our own and adapt them to the specifics of our team. An important moment of the second phase of the journey was realizing that we were doing 4 types of work on the team. OKRs were just the strategic type of work, and that was just one of the types of work. They were planned 3 months in advance and supposed to be reached at least partly within this period. There is a great article about this that's called The 4 Types of Work by Luca Rossi that I've linked here for you, and it explains all of this with very cool pictures. I will try to explain it with words. The next type of work would be the tactical type of work, which represents some small business opportunities that would be great if they could be completed within about 2 weeks during your team's sprint or several-week cycle. And there is the operational type of work, which includes maintenance and upgrades that enable the implementation of the tactical and strategic work. That takes between 20 and 25% of the team's time. And then there is the ASAP type of work, which can't be planned. It's sudden and interruptive, and it does require immediate attention from the team. Allowing capacity for all 4 types of work is important when planning the OKRs in the beginning of a cycle. It's also important to put these different types of work into perspective for the team to see what needs to happen when and how they can play a part in contributing to the team's goals. I designed this cool roadmap to help with that. And it contains the strategic, tactical, and operational work. It doesn't contain the ASAP work, since it can't be planned, but you could include it retroactively to show everything that the team managed to achieve in the past period, and also to give them some sense of accomplishment. You are not supposed to read this, as it is our top secret plan on going to live on the moon, but you can notice that some of the items have been marked as done. And this is what happens at the end of an OKR cycle. OKRs are being reviewed, evaluated for the progress made on each one, and they are being scored. So if you remember, when we talked about comparing MBOs with OKRs, we said that scoring OKRs is not used for evaluating individual performance. There is a lot to the art of scoring OKRs, but I'll give just a few examples to give you a good sense of it. In some companies, OKRs are being scored in percentages representing progress. At the FT, they're being scored with numbers on the scale of 0 to 1. So looking at these 2 numbers, which one do you think is good and which one do you think is bad? Which is the number you want to see as a score on our OKR about Moon today? Here are some possible answers. 1 would mean that the OKR is achieved, and it sounds like a great score. However, if you keep getting 1s on all of your OKRs consistently through several quarters, it might mean that you are not setting ambitious goals for your team, or at least not ambitious enough, and that you're really not stretching your team out of their comfort zone. So it's actually not something great to have all the time as a score. A 0 would mean that no work was done on the OKR, so that doesn't sound like something great. It may mean that the team kept an agile mindset, kept getting regular feedback, and realized that this key result, or even this objective, was no longer contributing to the main goals of the company, and so the work was dropped. So in that case, a 0 is actually something good. It could also mean that this was a score, an OKR, shared between several teams, and one of the teams lost their capacity, so they couldn't contribute to the OKR and blocked everyone else. In this case, a 0 is definitely not a good thing, but you could use this score to draw the attention of management and get this problem resolved and get everyone unblocked. And that's usually done very quickly. So a 0, even though not being something good, could be used to achieve something positive. 0.7 is a score that I often see on OKRs, and it shows that good progress was made. It could mean that the biggest part of the work was done. For example, the solutioning was complete, a big part of the implementation was over, and if we were building a new service, it would mean that the service is ready, we just need to set our monitoring and complete our documentation. With a score like that, you would usually have a conversation with management to confirm if the remaining bits of the OKR would be carried over to the next quarter as an OKR. So with OKRs being scored in such a liberating way, we started thinking more and more of which of the best ideas on the team to propose as an OKR to our management. That idea got chosen for us, and that happened during a company hackathon. That hackathon is held almost annually between the offices of Sofia and London. And you can see here my team, several other members of other teams. You can also see Hristo Georgiev, the very famous Hristo Georgiev, who is photoshopped in this picture because he refused to pose for it, but we found a way around it. And this is the second time that this picture is being shown at HackConf. I snatched it from my colleague, Johan Finley. Thanks, Johan. And I challenge the speaker from the FT for the next HackConf to show it for the third time. Now that I've extended my challenge, I can go back to my story and tell you that my team managed to win in the category of Most Enabling Thingy. And they won with the idea of the combined content search solution. It sounds complex, and it really is. In short, it's a neat way to search through vast amounts of information based on a complex set of search criteria and get valuable data returned just in seconds and feed that data proactively to clients to help them with some very important decisions. And this is something that our clients would really appreciate. So we proposed the implementation of the successful prototype through the process of OKRs. We even managed to secure funding for it. We started slow with our first OKRs being about having an architectural design solution or getting approvals on front-end designs. Then we went stronger with having OKRs about data feed tests with end clients and approvals of demos with sales directors and key account managers. And 4 OKR cycles later, we had a platform, a full-fledged platform deployed and ready to be used. It was a new product that could be offered directly to clients. And what is more than that, the technical solution behind this platform was actually used to power other new products and other new platforms. So it was a much bigger innovation than what we initially imagined. And my team really managed to get this to the stars, as we won this star for Project of the Year by the Project Management Institute, Bulgaria chapter. And we had some tough competition, but we managed to get it. And you can imagine the big celebration that we had for the completion of this OKR. So I hope that this success story and me mentioning how many times we have to celebrate once we introduce OKRs would inspire you to try OKRs yourself. I know you might be wondering if you're on a team where things work well and you are already building interesting things and you get along with other teams just fine, why introduce yet another process? One of the best feedbacks I've got on a process that I've introduced was actually about OKRs. And the feedback went something like, why are you calling this a process? It doesn't feel like one. It's there, we use it, and it works. So to me, this was an evidence that OKRs very quickly become part of the natural rhythm of a team. And they can be used to set some very risky goals that you wouldn't normally set for yourself and your team. They are a great way to amplify the voice of the software engineer and get their ideas heard and actually use them for defining the direction that a company is taking. And more than that, they're a great way to get recognition for your team and for your team's capabilities and get assigned even more challenging and interesting projects. So if you do decide to try OKRs, here's some friendly advice. Timing is everything when it comes to life, and this is even more true when it comes to OKRs. It's much better to have a short list of OKRs in the beginning of a quarter than to have a long, comprehensive, detailed list with OKRs midway through an OKR cycle. Getting different teams up to speed in different times of the OKR cycle really doesn't help with solving dependencies and with successful collaboration. Aligning with other teams is key, and it could be done very easily just by having some conversations. It's best to do this before you have finalized your OKRs. You can just show your plans to the other team, you can ask to see their plans, you can even write an OKR together, or you can just ask for help for one of your ambitious goals. And getting regular feedback is crucial too, because you really don't want to be building the wrong things and things that are no longer contributing to the company's main goals. This friendly advice comes in full sync with the values of the OKR framework, and those are focus, alignment, and feedback. And I find it really cool that a goal-setting framework has its own values. So here are 4 steps on how to launch your OKRs and make that easy for you and your team. Step 1 would be the ideas vote. We swear by ours, we call it the parking lot, and it has to do with the fact that great ideas don't follow planning cycles. So you want to have a place where you describe just a high level of something brilliant that someone said. And it's not important to capture all the details, but it's important to note down who said that brilliant thing and in what conversation or in which meeting. Most probably, you would be reviewing these ideas months later, and you really don't want to miss a great opportunity to implement something innovative that someone once thought. Knowing the name of the person makes it really easy to track the original idea down and get it set as an OKR. Step 2 has to do with alignment, which we already confirmed is extremely important. And you can have just a simple form in which you write a general idea of a key result, check which teams could help you with building that, and see how that aligns with an objective that those teams might already have or that management might have set before. We would discuss these in conversations with the other teams, and the longest meeting we've had on such a discussion on alignment was 15 minutes. So it's not a lot of time, but it's time well spent. Step 3 is about communicating and publishing your OKRs throughout the organization so that everyone could get excited about the great things that you'll be building. And I've also included the score here, so you can see how the scores of the different key results contribute to the score of the objective itself. And finally, you need to put all of this into perspective for your team to see on what needs to happen and when, and how they can contribute. And you can do that with the cool roadmap that we already discussed. So 4 steps supported by 4 templates that I've designed especially for you and that I use in my everyday work with my team. And that's really all there is to it. And now you know how to be fearless with OKRs.
All right. Thank you, Bogdana, for the great talk. I hope you share the hackathon image for the 3rd time. Fingers crossed. We've got a lot of questions, by the way. The first one is, when you know the objective, how do you generate the key results? Do you do them on your own, or do you involve the whole team in this process?
I do involve the whole team in the process because, as I said, key results should be meaningful to the team. And sometimes even the objective has to be rewritten so that everyone on the team understands what the goal really is, so that they know how to achieve it.
All right. Is it suitable? Are OKRs suitable for more junior teams, or it should be a really big team with at least 10 people, I guess?
It doesn't really have to be a big team. Even a small team could benefit from OKRs. And the best thing about that is that even the most junior people could propose their own ideas and turn them into OKRs. And that's one of the things that I like about this practice, is that it really doesn't serve any seniority. So anyone is empowered to come up with ideas, to think of possible improvements. And even if it's about operational work that could really empower innovation, then that is also something that could be considered, no matter if the person who offered it is just 3 months on the job or has been there for 30 years.
Yeah, I got it. So everyone is welcome.
Exactly.
Yep. How much time did it take for you and your team to get in the mindset of that result thing? Was it a really tough work, or it just came from yourself?
It was tough work. It was first trials and errors, and then trials and triumphs. As you saw, it's our second year and a half using OKRs. And in the beginning, because it was a new practice to me as well, I was also struggling with introducing it to them. And it was my team who helped me realize what would work best for us. And it's an iterative practice. You could always make it better. But it starts to work for you once you realize that you should also contribute to the goals and you should also be generating those ideas. I think that's really a fast track of getting it right.
Yeah, I understand. What about motivation of the team members to overperform on the OKRs, and if it is them setting the OKRs on the first place?
So there is absolutely no intention of overperforming. These goals are usually very, very difficult goals. It's not the everyday tactical work. And it's actually not good to overperform. Yeah. So having one as a score on all of the objectives is definitely not a good sign. OKRs are about having a sustainable pace of growing your skill set and a sustainable pace of generating new ideas. So there is really no drive for overachieving, and it's usually more than just one person contributing to a key result. So it's all about the teamwork and about going at a sustainable pace.
Yeah, I see. Do you think that OKRs and SMART goals are combinable?
So I've read a lot about them, because to me initially this was the biggest similarity between practices, but it turns out that key results are similar to SMART goals, but not identical. And going back to the roots of OKRs, the way Andy Grove said them was, when you look at the key result, you should be able to answer simply, did we achieve this, yes or no? And that's it, nothing in the middle. With SMART goals, it's not that black and white, but I have read some articles in which there is this theory that key results should be SMART, but that's not the only thing that they should be. They should also be aligned to the other key results, and they should also be aligned to the objective. So if the objective is the qualitative goal, then the key result is the quantitative goal that could be easily measured.
Yeah, I hope these answer the questions. Yeah. And if you're a team and there is only, and if your team is the only one who uses OKRs, if it is committing from the organization but a given team's decision, do you have such experience?
I personally don't. I understand the question. It's a really good question. The team in London, from which we inherited the platform that we're now building on, actually used OKRs before they were introduced in the company. And they actually managed to get approvals on some very important upgrades. And even they managed to get an approval of changing the programming language that was being used. And they did all of that through OKRs that were used just within the team. So again, they didn't use OKRs for alignment because they didn't have the whole practice within the whole company, but they used it for getting their ideas heard. And that to me still brings value to a team and to the company as a whole.
Yeah. A great answer, by the way, even though I couldn't read out the question really nice, but anyway. And just a second. I think these are all questions we've got. If there are still more questions in Discord, Bogdana can answer them later on when she has time. Be with us, guys, in exactly around 30 minutes, because our lecture, I promise you, it is really interesting. And see you again.